Hello, I am Avery or Hazel or Kylie.
Hello, I am Lily.
And you really thought having allergies would make you more attractive?
Yes.
Welcome to From the Closet, episode 50.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, Lily probably didn't know this was episode 50, but I've been keeping
I
track.
did.
I've been keeping track and I noticed that this was going to be episode 50.
It was either episode 50 or 49.
Yeah. So,
No, I remember I knew it was going to be episode 49, but that was before you told me when we're releasing the Marvel episode,
yeah.
the retrospective.
Mm-hmm.
So that just bumped everything one forward.
And by everything, you mean Kiki's delivery service and this episode.
Correct. Because I knew that our 50th episode would be on Tuesday,
Yes.
August the 2nd.
Which is, our last episode for this week. But if you want, you can join us next week for our free movie of the month for August 2022. Now, we don't know what it is going to be yet, but we do have several possibilities planned out. And those are Mean Girls 2, Juno, Goosebumps, Hotel Transylvania, Ghost Rider, The Angry Birds movie, Madagascar, and Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. We have no way to guarantee which one it's going to be because a lot of these websites that have free, a lot of these actually completely legitimate websites, their free movies change on the first of every month, but it's very unlikely that all 8 of those movies will become not free. So yeah, definitely.
Okay, I swear, I know what you meant by that, but you just raised, the suspicion level full ahead when you said that.
Okay, look, all of these movies that I just listed are either currently free on YouTube Movies or Amazon Prime Video. There. But, yeah, so definitely join us next week for that, along with our Iron Man 3 episode. But yeah, but in relation to this episode will contain spoilers for Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. You will find a link below to rent or purchase the movie yourself, and it is also available on Netflix, at least in the US. All right.
So I guess we can get into this, but before we get into this,
No,
I want to look up when this
can't-
movie came out.
We can't get into this
We can't
yet.
get it?
No.
Why?
Because we haven't spun the wheel.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm spinning the wheel now, and it landed on the request slot again.
Okay, then I have an idea of a person.
Alright, cool. I will try to remember to edit in a thing saying what that episode is going to be. So the next movie is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Alright.
Okay, let's continue.
Alright, when did this movie come out? That is a good question.
2009.
Yeah. I definitely knew it was while I was still in school because Miranda Cosgrove was still making music. And
so I actually watched this as a kid.
I saw it
many times, in fact.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters and saw it a couple of times after that. But the reason I brought up Miranda Cosgrove is the song in the end credits is her.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. But I guess I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there. This movie's a lot less good than I remember it being, and a lot less funny than I remember it being.
Honestly, I can see that. I don't know why, and I feel like I already had that expected in my mind that whatever I originally thought of the movie, it probably wasn't that good.
Yeah. I mean, it's to be expected, I guess, because it's from Sony Pictures Animation, and their track record is mostly hit or miss.
I wouldn't say this is a full-on miss, though.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't. I'd say this is like probably in the upper half of their movies, but that's not
Definitely.
but that's not saying much. I mean, we're comparing them against Open Season.
Well, as Sony Picture Animation, we're comparing them against the Emoji Movie.
Yeah. And Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So like, it's definitely not anywhere near their best, but it's also not anywhere near their worst. So.
And honestly, like, it's a movie that exists. It wasn't, like, I wouldn't put it on my wall, crowning achievement of human kindness? I don't know.
See,
Humans.
It wouldn't make my top 50 animated movies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely not the best animated movie of 2009 either. Because, I mean, Up exists for one.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if that would be my best one.
But other than that, this movie was alright.
Yeah, it was alright. I think, but I do think, like, in general, most of the jokes didn't land. Some of the jokes really did get me to laugh. But a lot of the jokes just do not land.
So, I imagine you're familiar with Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs book, right?
I'm somewhat familiar with it, but I don't recall there ever being a machine tying into the reason it was raining food. Was that a thing in the book? Do you recall?
No. I think it was just something to build the plot forward.
Yeah, see, I think that's a problem with a lot of movies like this, particularly with Dr. Seuss adaptations, is like you have to shove in a bunch of extra content in order to make it work as a movie, and sometimes it just still doesn't work. So this is probably one of the best efforts.
Mm-hmm. The Lorax didn't do that much while completely not doing everything. Like, the original book is still there, but it's also telling a completely different story as well.
Yeah, I have my problems with the Lorax, of course, because guess who made it? Illumination. But it's still, like, in the top half of their movies, but that's not saying much.
I actually do really like the Lorax, though that could also be something if I rewatch critically, I'll have lower taste on it than I would originally.
I definitely think I remember it being funny. We'll have to see if that's the same if we ever do cover it.
We should. I think we should.
If we can find it. That's the big issue. But yeah, also I should say we are definitely going to cover Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs too at some point.
Oh, wow, you're right. The Lorax is not an anything. Well, except Peacock.
Peacock Premium or Peacock Free?
Premium. It requires subscription.
Damn. Well, I mean, I do have Just Watch, so maybe I could look there and see what it's like. But that's a little off topic, I guess. Gotta say, it is kind of impressive to, turn water into any kind of food because, like, this. Okay, I have to question how this works. All right. For one, this is vegan because no animals were exploited in the making of this food. But then at the same time, Sam still gets, an allergic reaction from the peanut brittle. So it must be copying the exact molecular structure of the food. In which case, that day when he made the ice cream for Cal's birthday would really have sucked for anyone who is lactose intolerant.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
Like, that must have been an awful day for them. But we don't talk
I
about
wonder if there
that.
was any more. I wonder if there's any more sardines left over.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. And we also don't talk
So-
about Bruno.
I knew you were gonna say it.
Watch our Encanto episode. You can find it somewhere in the playlist.
So, this movie sets up. It's a small town. No, sorry. Small town, small island, and they're stuck to eating sardines.
Side note.
Apparently, the entire.
Side note. They're a small island hidden under the A in Atlantic. I'm sorry, but isn't that a different place on every fucking map and globe in existence?
You don't talk about that. Anyway. So, they're eating sardines forever because the sardine place, they're shipping sardines around the world, went bankrupt because everyone around the world decided sardines were gross.
And they were right, to be fair. But,
also, the mascot was questionable.
Yeah, and obviously, if you think about that for a second, it doesn't really work. Like, how on earth would that mean that everybody is stuck eating sardines for decades? It wouldn't.
Well, it kind of would. Only kind of. I guess they were just stuck with their traditionalist values of catching sardines.
And then,
And
then there's this mayor character, the guy who consults no one and then spends the entire town's budget on one thing.
Yeah. So, he wants to be the biggest mayor of all the mayors.
Yes.
So,
the mayor,
sardines failed.
The mayor to end all mayors.
So, what do? You make Sardine Land, a theme park centered around sardines.
Which just sounds like the worst theme park ever.
And it was. Truly, it was. You saw the movie. I wouldn't want to go there.
I wouldn't either, especially since it was destroyed so easily.
Oh, No, you should have began the podcast with just saying angrily, "Flintlock wood."
I thought about it. I did think about it. But I decided to go with the allergies line just because as someone with allergies, I did find that a little bit funny.
Yeah. Wait. I don't remember this.
You don't remember what?
You having like allergic to something or something like that.
Well, I mean, I have, for one, I have, your typical summer allergies. And I wouldn't say that I'm allergic to any food or medicine, but there are a lot of things like outside and shit that I'm allergic to. Nothing that causes my face to go like what Sam's does in the movie. Nothing that I really require an EpiPen for, but, it is pretty bad.
Mild irritations, stuff like that.
I wouldn't call them mild. But yeah,
So irritations.
yeah, very much irritations.
Oh, I'm an idiot. You're allergic to dogs.
Yes, that is one of them.
I I already knew that.
I'm technically also allergic to some cats too, but I love
Hmm.
cats, so I wish I had a cat, but I unfortunately can't afford to take care of one.
So I actually kind of applaud this movie for, at the very least, explaining how this all works, even if the explanation is just impossible.
Yeah. I also did find this movie like quite predictable even as a kid. Like, oh, the
Hmm.
father is definitely going to screw up this email somehow. But also, I do want to just take a side minute to rant about old people not understanding computers. I think at this point we can really just say it's stubbornness. There is no reason for you to not understand how to Google something when Google's been around for like multiple decades at this point. It's just stubbornness.
Okay, but to the movie's credit, this was 2009.
And even then,
The,
Google had been
I,
around for at least a decade and Backrub before that.
and to this specific person's credit, I don't think they've ever interacted with a computer, ever.
Also,
They live in a land.
why the hell does Flint have 9 monitors?
I I don't know how he gets the money for that. They live on a land of sardines.
Exactly. It's like what the fucking hell? And then like okay, so you also could have very easily predicted that the Jello thing would come back into play. You also could have easily predicted that the peanut allergy thing would come back into play.
The
And
shoe thing.
oh yeah, the shoe thing and the over mutation of the food.
What I find interesting about this movie is some of the gags, and one of my favorite gag was how he was building the satellite, and you think he's going like this really fast, and then it's like, I can't believe I'm watching this video for 3 hours.
You know, another thing too, I the movie really wanted you to feel bad for the father. Um and I didn't.
Hmm.
Cuz like, you know, he just flat out wasn't being supportive of his son. Um and you know, it showed and like he would just kind of get mad whenever his son was just being him.
There's also interest. Actually, do we ever know what happened to his mom? Um, the mom.
I don't think they told us. They just said that she died.
Huh. What's interesting, how his to the father, his son basically just repels the energy of his mom, his wife. Just reminds him of his wife. And I don't know how he would even feel about that. Especially, depending on how she died.
She died.
Hmm. That's what I said.
You said he.
I said she.
Anyway, another thing I do want to bring up is the absolute ridiculousness of the bullies that were making fun of Sam. Cause like I don't know, I spent a couple of years in public school, and nobody ever made fun of me for needing glasses to see.
Okay, Avery.
And if anyone, okay, and the other thing too is like, I know people get made fun of for disabilities, but usually it's not a crowd of people chanting that.
Yeah. So didn't you go to like a very special school?
I didn't start there.
Oh, when did you start there?
Like second grade, I think.
Oh. Honestly, I don't think I can even remember anything about second grade.
I
Nope, all gone.
I remember what my second grade teacher called me. I remembered her name, and that's about it.
I remember third grade when I sweared for the first time.
Yeah, third grade, I
It was
got
during
suspended
cursive.
for saying a word that I had made up that was very similar to the N word, and I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah, no, I never got suspended ever. Actually, I've never gotten in official trouble or enough trouble in school. I can say that now because I'm now graduated, so it won't. It's official.
Yeah, I got in a lot of trouble during school because the school decided the best way to handle my ADHD was to just punish me for it instead of teaching me how to deal with it. So, it never fucking worked. Fucking dumbasses. Um,
If it's your school was like, yeah, if you have late assignment, you're going to jail.
yeah, you turn in an assignment late, you're going to lunch detention, which, yeah, okay. Um, instead of teaching kids how to better manage deadlines, let's just punish them and hope they figure it out.
No, one of the worst things my middle school's done. So I think I was still in 7th or 8th grade, and they decided, oh, if you're late to class on some days, the teachers will just lock all their doors, and then someone will find you in the hall, and you're gonna get detention or something like that.
See, at that
Oh,
point, why not just go hide in the bathroom until the period's over?
it's like the worst thing about it is that, oh, you're missing time of your class. Let's make you miss more of it.
Yeah, and then like, okay, so my school would always tell me that, when you got into college, professors in college would be doing that. I never experienced that in like high school. And then I got to college. Oh, turns out that's bullshit. They don't do that. Usually, the professors are actually late to the class.
Oh no. That's actually the same in my high school. So, you know, in my high school, you would go along the halls and you can see, the teachers chatting. And as after the bell rang, and usually like maybe a minute, the teacher comes walking in, like, okay, let's see what we're gonna do today. Like, barely the teacher was even in their own classroom before the bell started.
Goodness. We're getting on a side rant about school. Anyway, that's a whole other topic. But yeah, this movie, let's see. I found the character of Baby Brant or whatever his name was just really annoying.
It's really underdeveloped, and I feel like, if I remember, he's supposed to appear in this next movie
I think,
more as a character and less of a side thought.
honestly, I think the relationship between Sam and Flint is probably the best aspect of this movie and the most well written part. And that,
I can see that, yeah.
and it definitely did not exist in the book.
Well, in the book, obviously, Flintlock would never existed.
Yeah, I mean, I think the book was literally just describing the food weather, and that was pretty much it. There was no, like, huge cataclysmic event destroying everything either.
Actually, there was. I remember that clearly. But instead, so basically, remember how they all left the island?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did. And that island was just filled up with food, I guess.
And
I think it has something to do with they took for granted on the island's food and it got mad or something. Then they had to leave.
yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But
I'll have
yeah,
to brush up on, my knowledge of the book, but that's what I can remember.
but yeah, let's see. It's kind of I kind of would love to be able to make it rain food like this, but also like realistically changing water into any kind of food wouldn't work.
Now, something I have a little bit of an issue with. Where the hell is that water going? So it changes the molecular structure into food. Does that food even have any nutrients? This is technically water.
I
Or you
mean,
just continue peeing the food out.
like I said, I'm assuming they copy the exact molecular structure, so it would have the nutrients as well.
But here's the biggest part. How does that water go back into the water cycle and get redistributed back into rainwater?
I would imagine it probably doesn't.
So that means the water will eventually run out and there just be no more food and no more water.
Yeah, that'd be a problem. For sure. You might need a way to turn other things into water.
Honestly, I would not. If you can change the molecular, the water into food, you should at least be able to change the food back into water.
I do not want to think about people turning their food waste back into water.
Well, I was actually just thinking about the mountain of leftovers.
Yeah, that makes sense for
You can,
sure, but you'd still eventually run out of water.
Farming and agriculture?
Maybe, but I don't think that would be enough to resupply water for an entire planet. But yeah. Anyway, we're getting too technical with like this fucking magical machine. Yeah, obviously,
Well, I mean,
a machine like this could never exist. I think that's the key thing to take away.
but it's such. They put so much detail in how this machine works. Like, this machine could never exist, but they took way too much detail in how this magical made up machine can A, produce food, how Flint Lockwood can tell it to make food, and then how it all goes haywire at the end.
Yeah, and it somehow creates sentient food, which, like, what?
That makes no sense. Okay, the pizza made no sense. I could get the turkey, but homing pizza makes no sense.
And, another thing, too, you can 3D print food.
Yeah.
I have no idea how this works, but I have tried those 3D printed Doritos, and they're honestly okay.
They've released 3D printed Doritos?
Yeah, 2 flavors. I think there's like a nacho flavor and a Cool Ranch flavor.
something to take away. 3D printed meat exists, and it's all vegan.
That's interesting. It's probably nowhere near as good as the Impossible meat or the Beyond meat, but hey, it exists. It's an option for those of you who feel like they're too good for bean, tofu, or Impossible and Beyond stuff.
Well, it's obviously plant-based. I don't know how you would even get it.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know what
that's
machines they're even using to 3D print this food.
probably just a, I want to say standard printer, but it works like how a regular printer would.
Yeah,
Um,
it just seems like some kind of like black magic to me.
Really, 3D printing is quite easy. Make material hot, place material, and material cools.
See, the weird thing to me is like there's no mold. So like, I typically expect whenever you make something hot and you want it to cool into a specific shape, I typically expect a mold of some sort, and 3D printing doesn't have that.
No.
So it just doesn't make sense to me.
In my programming, I can like in the program I can see like individual layers as it goes up and see what directions it will take before I put it in. And I imagine that's not too far off on how the machine does it.
But yeah, okay. So, shit. There was something that I was really not happy about, and I was considering moving 5 whole decimal points off because of it, and now I can't even remember what it was.
But if you can't remember, it wasn't important.
I
Was
disagree.
that a Friends quote? I forgot.
No, it sounds like a boomer quote.
No, it was a quote from something.
But
Because it was a gag.
Yeah, like, if we were recording this the day we initially planned to record it, I probably would have remembered. Fuck.
Do you have any? Well, why would you take 5 whole points off? Was it unfunny because he faked having an allergy?
I don't know, that could have been a thing.
Oh, but you would have remembered that. Used it for an intro.
I don't know. Either way, I'm still taking at least a decimal point off. Because guess what's in this movie?
What?
A Wilhelm scream.
Oh, no. Wait, I don't think I remember. No, damn it.
Yeah.
I heard a generic scream, but I don't think it was a Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, I heard the Wilhelm scream pretty early in the movie. I can't remember exactly where. I think it might have been when the Sardine Land was being destroyed. Or it might have been in one of the flashbacks where, he's showing all the past disasters that he's had. But there was definitely a Wilhelm scream in this movie.
Damn.
And, eventually I am going to make one exception to my rule of taking off a decimal point for the Wilhelm scream.
What?
And you will know what it is because they will actually set up the Wilhelm scream and use it for comedy. It's very hilarious the way it's done, and I approve of it. You'll know it when we get to it.
Like, was it an audible sound in the movie? Or what is the term for, like, something that, people in the movie can hear versus something that's not?
Diegetic. And yes, it is diegetic.
Okay.
Because one of the characters does make the noise. And then the other character's like, yeah, that's it. It's actually quite funny. But anyway, I guess before we give our ratings, I want to talk about the critic reception of this movie. So I'm opening my gallery where I have it screenshot, and here we go.
The critics are like, this movie is trash, end of sentence.
IMDb gives this a 6.9 out of 10.
Nice.
Rotten Tomatoes gives this 86%. That's way too high. Metacritic gives it 66. And 82% of Google users like the movie. So, Lily, do you want to give your rating?
I would. Thank you for asking. 7.7.
See, I was
7.7.
Yeah. Okay, so 7.7 for you. I was initially going to give this movie a 7.0, but because of the Wilhelm scream, it is down.
Nice.
It is down to 6.9.
69.
But yeah, definitely join us next week for our free movie of the month and for Iron Man 3. Look forward to whatever our request slot ended up being. You should already know by now because I should have edited it in. But yeah, until next time, I've been Avory, that's been Lily, and you can't run away from your own feet.